the strengthening of the threat of terrorism and the growth of ethnic and confessional conflicts in this area. These contradictions, separatist attitudes lately, in our view, were artificially escalated from outside. It's important that the actions of the Turkish armed forces should be used by the members of the terrorist organizations, including IGIL, whose rebels are captivated by the Kurdish armed groups and who try to get out to be free. Syria should be free from the illegal foreign military presence. To achieve a stable and long-term stabilization in Syria, on the whole, in our view, it's only possible while observing sovereignty and territorial integrity of this country. It's this very basic position, important position, and we discussed in detail with Mr. Erdogan about it. It's important that the Turkish partners share such an approach to protect the peace and stability on the border of Turks and Syrians should do together. And here, without the respectful cooperation between Turkey and Syria, one cannot do without it. One should also launch a wide dialogue between the government of Syria and the Kurds who reside in northeast of Syria. It's obvious that precisely with the framework of this inclusive dialogue, in full volume can be taken into account and implemented all the rights and interests of the Kurdish people, of the Kurds, as part and parcel of the multinational Syrian people. In the course of negotiations with the President, we of course discussed the further steps on the promotion of the peace political process in Syria, which Syrians themselves, with the help of UN, will conduct within the framework of the Constitutional Committee. Upon its creation, the guarantee countries of the Astana format worked thoroughly during the latest period. Over many years, we assume that the situation on the ground shouldn't hamper this long-awaited launching of this committee next week already, 29th, 30th October in Geneva. Of course, we dwelt upon the humanitarian situation. We think it's necessary further on to help the Syrian refugees to return to their motherland. It will help to alleviate the burden of the social economic strain which the countries bear who agreed to accommodate Syrians, of course, including Turkey, first of all, Turkey. We appeal to the international community, especially profile agencies of UN, to be more active in offering humanitarian assistance to all those Syrians who return without discrimination, politicization, and preliminary conditions. Having taken advantage of this meeting, we took advantage of this meeting to discuss the current issues of the bilateral cooperation. We, with satisfaction, stress the turnover, which increased by 16%. It grew last year. We share the views concerning how we should act in the near future, and we expressed our certainty that the further growth of turnover will help the implementation of the settlement on payments and settlement in national currencies, which was signed at the beginning of October. We spoke about the important document which envisages not just more active use of ruble and lira in mutual trade, but also the widening of the acceptance of the Russian cards in the territory of Turkey and the switch on of Turkish banks to the system of the financial messages of the Bank of Russia. I think it's one important step on the way of widening, broadening of the tourist contours. We spoke about the whole complex of our relations, including huge projects which are being developed positively. Also, military technical cooperation is deepening. We want to stress that in Turkey, in Russia, there are cross years of culture and tourism are conducted. Finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Erdogan, all our friends, colleagues, for this business-like and frank conversation which we have. We have intention further on to promote our cooperation in all the direction on the principles of good neighborliness and the respect of the interests of each other. But I cannot but express satisfaction that as a result of quite a lengthy, intense work, we managed to reach the solutions which, after our statements, will be pronounced by the ministers of foreign affairs of both countries, the resolution of which, in our view, are very important, if not just fatal, and will help resolve quite an acute situation which took place at the border between Syria and Turkey.
Dear President, distinguished members of the delegation, distinguished members of the press, I salute you with my sincerest feelings and respect. We're very happy to be in London. I'd like to be in Russia. I'd like to express that. To begin my words, I'd like to first express my condolences in Akkuyu nuclear central, two of Russian citizens who lost their lives. I'd like to send my condolences to them. Again, the same day, in Transfers, the water band in Transfers, 15 of Russian citizens lost their lives. I'd like to also send my condolences to them. Distinguished members of the press, especially today's discussions, today's deliberations, our main agenda was Syria and the developments in Syria. But along with that, we also discussed our bilateral relations. About economy, as the President just expressed, we are going to increase trade in our national currencies, and the agreement about this has been signed very recently. This agreement will be very helpful to reach our $100,000 billion trade relationship. Our collaboration on Akkuyu is continuing, and we have agreed upon a calendar. In the future, our mutual interests, our work will continue in order to reach our mutual interests. In here, hereby, when I mentioned this, also we have taken very important steps on defense industry, and we will continue to do so. With Mr. Putin, we have talked about the establishment of peace and tranquility in Syria. We have spent a lot of effort, very serious effort on that, on Astana Agreement as well. Together with the Sochi Memorandum, we have made very important agreements. On the 16th of September in Ankara summit, we have declared the Constitutional Committee. On 30th of October, committee will be meeting for the first time. Our expectation from the Constitutional Committee is going to be beneficial for the Syrians' political change and open doors for this political change. As Turkey, all the steps we have taken so far, we have been very sensitive. In Euphrates Shield and in Olive Branch operations, we have secured 4,000 square kilometer area and cleared it from terrorists. This area that we have secured and made safe, 360,000 refugees have repatriated voluntarily. At some time, Syrian land was always mentioned with terror attacks, but now it is reaching tranquility and peace. Hopefully, this will apply to the northern Syria. We have been hosting 3,650,000 Syrians. 350,000 of them are Kurdish. These brothers, these homesick brothers should go back to their countries, and we should work on this. Another important step for our operation is to establish this. The area that will be safe with our operation, first of all, we are going to repatriate 1 million Syrians, and after that, another 1 million will move back. Our plans according to our plans regarding this, we have shared our plans with our counterparts. Hopefully, with the support of international community, this plan will be carried out. In this process, with our Russian friends, we'll work together and we are going to make agreements on repatriation plans. Today, with Mr. Putin, we have talked about fight against terrorism, territorial integrity of Syria, and political unity of Syria. We also talked about. We also made a historic agreement with Mr. Putin about Syrian refugees. We are not going to allow any agenda, separatist agenda in Syria. Since the 23rd of October, we have given 120 hours, and we have gave a condition that they were going to move 32 kilometers deep. They're going to withdraw. We are going to have 10 kilometer deep area, and Russian security will operate in that area. In Manbij and Tel Abyad, all the YPG members will be removed with their arms. Against leak of the terrorists, all the countries will take the necessary precautions, and there will be a common mechanism to track them. Turkey and Russia, as they've done always, are going to work together for a political solution for Syria. My dear friend Putin and the agreement we made together hopefully will bring a peace, a new era that is peaceful and tranquil. Hopefully, this Memorandum of Understanding is going to bring fortune for everyone in the region. As a neighbor of Syria and as friends of Syrian people, we want peace and stability in Syria, and we are going to work with all our strength in order to reach this. I would like to thank Mr. Putin for his hospitality once more, and I'd like to give you my love and respect.
You're watching Al Jazeera. We're bringing you live coverage there of that news conference from the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish opposite number, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. If you're just joining us here on Al Jazeera, Sergei Lavrov now taking not the podium, but giving us, I suspect, the Russian Foreign Ministry breakdown on the reality of that. He's flanked there by his Turkish opposite number as well. Let's just dip in and have a listen to what Mr. Lavrov's saying as well.
Agreed on the following. First, both sides state their adherence to the preservation of political unity and territorial integrity of Syria and the observation of the national security of Turkey. They stressed their resolve to fight terrorism in all its manifestations and to resist separatist aspiration in this Syrian territory. In this context, the existing status quo in this current operation area between Talpi and Asamyana in the depth of 32 kilometers will be preserved. Fourth, both parties confirm the importance of Adana Agreement. Russia will contribute to the implementation of Adana Agreement in the modern conditions. Fifth, concerning from 23rd October, Syria party, in the Syria-Turkish body, beyond the borders, the military Russian police will be, and Syrian armed border forces will be introduced. They will contribute to the withdrawal of subdivisions for 30 kilometers, and this withdrawal should complete within 150 hours after 1200 of the 23rd October. From this moment, will start the joint Russian-Turkish patrolling in the depth of 10 kilometers from the borders to the west and east from the region of the operation Source of Peace. Apart from the Komishli town, 6 of the subdivisions of Kos and their armaments will be will be brought to account of membership and terrified. Both parties will take all necessary measures to prevent the infiltration of terrorist elements. Fifth, will be undertaken joint efforts to contribute to the safe and voluntary return of the refugees. Will be set up a mutual mechanism of the monitoring and verification for the observation and coordination of the implementation of this memorandum. Tenth, both parties will continue working on the search of the political resolution of the Syrian conflict within the framework of the mechanism of Astana and will support the activity of the Constitutional Committee. Thank you.
Between Turkey and Russian Federation, this is the Memorandum of Understanding, 22nd of October 2019, Sochi. Turkish Republic President and Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Vladimir Putin have been agreed below. 1. Both sides are going to work towards the territorial security and political unity. 2. Terrorism in any way, in any type, will be fought against within Syria, and the agendas that are trying to separate Syria will not be tolerated. In Tel Abyad and Syria, 32-kilometer deep withdrawal will take place. 4. Both sides are going to, they're going to act accordingly to Adana Agreement, and Russian Federation will make easy to apply Adana Agreement. On 23rd of October at 12 p.m., 12 noon, Russian police and Russian security forces will be observing outside the safe zone, 10 kilometers outside the same zone. The Russian security will secure that YPG will be removed from 32 kilometers deep from Turkish border. This will be completed, and in that safe zone, on the west of it and on the east of it, apart from Kamışlı, there will be Turkish and Russian security forces observing the area. All YPG entities will be removed from Manbij, and both sides are going to prevent against the leakage of the terrorist entities back to the area. 8. The secure patriation of the refugees. There will be a collaborating work on this. There will be a verification mechanism to observe this development, and within the Astana process, there will be works in order to find a sustainable political solution for the crisis in Syria, and they will be supporting the Constitutional Committee's work.